And into Gabby Williams, got hit in the forehead, and it caused 2 black eyes. And you can still see some of the remnants of them, and now she's sporting the bloody lip. She is as tough as they come.
Lexie Hull walked into the Chicago game already battered. 2 black eyes. By the end, she added a busted lip and still put up one of the gutsiest performances of her career. She wasn't just scoring, she was diving on the floor, chasing rebounds, and setting the tone. Chicago tried to bully the Fever, and Hull answered every hit with more fight. After the game, she didn't whine about the injuries. She hit the cameras with a line that felt bigger than the box score. This team is built for the fight. That toughness is now Indiana's calling card. The Fever aren't sneaking into the playoffs. They're crashing the door down, bruised, fearless, and ready for whoever comes next.
That's a W. Made it out. All we gotta do is keep making it out. Woo! Dubs!
How do you win when your superstar is out and half the roster looks like it belongs in the trainer's room instead of on the court? That's the reality Indiana faced the second Caitlin Clark went public. No leaks, no whispers, her own post. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. The groin injury that had stalked her since July never loosened its grip. Rehab, workouts, limited drills, none of it stuck. For weeks, fans clung to scraps of optimism. Maybe she'd sneak back in. Maybe there'd be a miracle return. Then came the truth. One message, and the hope evaporated. Suddenly, Indiana's playoff chase wasn't just tough. It had to be completely rewritten.
Caitlin Clark released a statement saying this: "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoff."
It wasn't just Clark. The Fever season has carried the label snake-bitten from the start, and the injury list only hammered it home. Sophie Cunningham? Gone for the year. Sydney Colson? ACL tear. Chloe BBY? Stuck battling knee trouble that never cleared up. Ari McDonald? Broken foot, done. That's not bad luck. That's an entire rotation ripped away. Picture it. The final stretch of the regular season, and you're missing your franchise star, your emotional enforcer, your veteran steady hand, your backup point guard, and a key forward all at once. Instead of sharpening chemistry for the playoff sprint, the Fever staff has been forced into nightly lineup roulette. Every game starts with a whiteboard full of adjustments and ends with duct-taped rotations, just trying to survive.
End of the day, she's been working her butt off to be able to get back, and we've kind of run out of time to be able to do it in a safe way, in a safe manner. And I think we've all been very open and upfront with her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing. To be in a position that you need to be in to play at this time of the year, we just ran out of time to get her there.
Stephanie White didn't bother hiding it. Her tone said what every Fever fan already knew. This season has been a grind. It's frustrating all the injuries she's had, the head coach admitted, talking about Caitlin Clark's battle with that stubborn groin. This wasn't about toughness. It wasn't about desire. It was the clock. We ran out of time to be able to do it in a safe way, White said flat out. Long-term health had to come first. No shortcuts. General Manager Amber Cox backed it up. Protecting Clark's career mattered more than chasing a quick fix. And that's the reality nobody wanted to hear. Indiana's depth chart gutted overnight. Clark is gone. McDonald's is gone. Cunningham gone. Coulson gone. BB fighting her own. Knee. That's not a rotation. That's a skeleton crew. Suddenly, every possession felt like a playoff possession. Every sub, magnified. But Clark didn't vanish. She wasn't pouting in street clothes. She was locked in. standing, clapping, yelling through huddles, living every possession from the bench. Cameras caught it again and again, eyes sharp, voice cutting through. Even without her shoes on the hardwood, Clark was still the heartbeat, and the fans felt it. Indiana wasn't just missing a star. They were watching one lead in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play and then to, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. And the message has continued to be that it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important thing.
That presence mattered more than people realize, because the playoff picture wasn't forgiving. Indiana was clinging to 8th, barely a step ahead of the Sparks. One bad night, and they'd be the ones watching the postseason from home. It wasn't just basketball anymore. It was survival. Could a roster this thin hold the line? Could they find ways to mask the absence of their superstar without letting doubt eat them alive? That was the question hanging in the air, and every player knew it. By the time the Chicago matchup rolled around, the pressure was suffocating. No style points, no highlight reels, just grit, execution, and the willingness to meet the moment head-on. And somehow, that crucible flipped the script. What looked like a breaking point became ignition. The game against the Sky wasn't pretty. It was raw, defiant, and exactly the spark Indiana needed to remind everyone they weren't done yet.
If a newcomer in Bree Hall plays tonight, Boston on a kick-out. Mitchell, she's hot to start. Mitchell finds Dantas, who rolls and lays it in.
77 wasn't just a score. It was a statement. Indiana didn't just take down Chicago. They put a stamp on a season-long beatdown. 5 games, 5 wins, all by an average of 24 points. That's not competition. That's dominance. For Chicago, it's been a nightmare matchup. For Indiana, it's been their life raft in a year that's tested every nerve, every bit of depth, every ounce of patience. Remember the stakes. The Fever came into this game dangling in 8th place, barely holding off the spark. One wrong step and they're staring at elimination instead of the postseason. That kind of pressure can crack a team. Instead, it lit Indiana on fire. This wasn't a cautious win. This was their most commanding performance when they could least afford to stumble. And that's the part that matters most. This wasn't about style points. It was about survival. No Clark, no excuses, just grit and clarity. The Fever showed that even stripped down, they're not backing away from the fight. Chicago got run off the floor, and Indiana walked out with more than a win. They walked out with proof that their season isn't ready to die.
Mitchell, will she add to it? Whips it back for Dantas. Kelsey Mitchell putting on a show here in Indy.
Look at the spin on the ball. Just one dribble over the head pad.
Mitchell's been brilliant on a kick out to Howard. Mitchell bouncing. Howard, the left hand.
And then getting a stop on the defensive end. I know Coach Stephanie White is happy with her team with that.
Mitchell being hounded by Atkins, trying to shake her. Mitchell bounces inside, and Howard gets the roll.
Kelsey Mitchell wasn't just scoring against Chicago. She was dictating everything. 20 points, 8 assists, and not a wasted possession. She knew when to pull up and hit a dagger, when to drive and collapse the defense, and when to feed her teammates for clean looks. That's not chasing numbers. That's controlling a game. You could feel it. Every time Chicago looked like they might swing momentum, Mitchell answered. Sometimes with a bucket, sometimes with a pass that set up a corner 3, sometimes with nothing more than pace, slowing the game down, calming her team, reminding everyone who had the ball and the moment in her hands. That's leadership. That's the difference between just being a scorer and being the guard who keeps a playoff chase alive.
Here in the first half. It's Howard finding Sims, who finishes tight quarters. Howard backing in on Williams. Little shake and bake. And the fadeaway.
Right behind her came Natasha Howard, steady as ever. She dropped 18 points, ripped down 7 boards, and swiped 4 steals. It wasn't just numbers, it was an impact. She gave Indiana toughness on both ends, pounding the paint for buckets, and then turning around to wreck Chicago's rhythm with defense that killed their momentum.
Came in the second quarter. Indiana's just been able to hold Chicago at an arm's length here tonight. And Natasha Howard putting together one of her best games of the season.
Missing that little bunny, just the possession before, comes up through the contact, goes straight to her chest. Not a...
Sims finds some space and can't get the roll. Howard charging, tips it, comes down with it, and flips it home.
And it didn't stop there. Indiana stacked the box score with 3 more players in double figures, proving this wasn't a one-woman show. Odyssey Sims brought that quick-hitting guard play, steadying the backcourt and giving them another gear, when Mitchell sat. Aaliyah Boston, calm and dependable, owned the paint and looked comfortable taking on extra responsibility without Clark pulling defenders away.
She is the team's leading scorer with Angel Reese not available. Hull lob it inside. Boston spins and finishes. So far in the second half, it's been 1 step forward, 1 step back for the Sky. Boston turns the corner on Cardoso, bakes it home, and a foul.
Even aerial powers made her mark, giving Indiana valuable minutes packed with scoring and energy that kept Chicago on its heels all night. With the roster already thinned by injuries, her spark mattered even more. It turned what could have felt like a patchwork lineup into a complete team effort, proof that this wasn't some random blowout, but a statement win.
Hands there by Williams. Petty powers through traffic and is able to finish. Howard's going behind the back on Bannon, muscles her way to the rim, draws the foul, and flips it home, and 1 Powers.
The number that really told the story? 27 assists and just 9 turnovers. That's the kind of clean, connected basketball you don't fake. Especially for a team that's been throwing different lineups on the floor every other night, it showed trust. Nobody out there was forcing bad shots. The ball kept moving, the extra pass kept coming, and Chicago had no way to keep up. Every possession turned into something easy. Layups, wide-open jumpers, rhythm threes. By the time the fourth quarter even started, it felt like the Sky was already finished. And here's the bigger point. This win wasn't just padding the record. It was about control. Indiana didn't just beat Chicago, they swept them out of the season series. 5 straight, gone, out of the playoff picture. That meant the Fever weren't depending on anyone else anymore. They held their own path. Add in a couple results breaking their way from Seattle and Golden State. And suddenly 6th place wasn't just a dream. It was right there in reach. This wasn't luck. It wasn't a random hot night. It was Indiana finding a rhythm at the exact time the season demanded it.
These players.
Here's Michaela Timpson checking in for her first minutes and banking it home.
So yeah, the scoreboard said Indiana by 20. But the bigger picture? A full season sweep of Chicago, playoff breathing room, and a team proving it's built on more than just one superstar. The Fever didn't just beat the Sky, they broke them in every phase of the game. And at the center of it all was Lexie Hull. Not the leading scorer, not the box score darling, but the heartbeat. She came in already looking like a fighter. 2 black eyes from that brutal collision with Gabby Williams still stamped across her face. Most players would have taken that as a reason to rest. Hull took it as fuel. Then mid-game, Camila Cardoso catches her across the mouth. Lip splits. Blood. Trainers step in. Anyone else? They'd sit. Hull? She waves it off, stays in, keeps playing. By the end, she's bruised, bleeding, and still diving for loose balls like it's the finals. That's why fans left talking about her. Not just her hustle, but the post-game moment where she shrugged it off and gave the line that had Fever Nation buzzing. In a night built on toughness, Lexie Hull was the toughness.
Powers bouncing. Hull. Oh, had it denied at the rim. Hull looked home free, and I think
That refusal to sit told you everything you need to know about Lexie Hull. Forget the box score. Forget the highlight reel. This was about guts. Indiana's roster has been shredded by injuries. Caitlin Clark in street clothes, Sophie Cunningham done, Chloe Baby and Ari McDonald sidelined before tip. You don't survive that without toughness. Hull lived it. She didn't ask for sympathy, didn't flinch when her face was already a mess, didn't blink when the lip split open. She laced up, stayed on the floor, and gave them the kind of minutes that spoke louder than any stat line. This is who the Fever are right now. Punch back, play hurt, don't retreat.
They just got to get into their sets a little bit quicker.
here's Hull off the Boston screen. She hits, and Indiana is
I love the way that she's been able to elevate her game.
the youngsters out of South Carolina, who both are having strong seasons, as Indiana has opened up 3 for 3 with Lexie Hull.
And here's the wild part. All of this is happening in the middle of the best season of Lexie Hull's career. She's not just filling space on the roster anymore, she's delivering. Across the board, points, rebounds, assists, steals, every number is climbing. She's already shattered her personal best from deep drilling more than 53s this year. That's not a hot streak, that's evolution. This is the step forward season every young player hopes for, the moment where potential becomes production. And the timing? Couldn't be bigger. With Clark sidelined and half the rotation, limping, Indiana needed someone to carry more than just stats. Hull answered. She's giving them numbers, yes, but more importantly, she's giving them identity, toughness, growth, and a belief that this team can punch above its weight.
Points here tonight at 14 minutes off the bench. Turner gets inside, kick out. Hull who buries a 3.
Her teammates see it. Her coach sees it. Stephanie White didn't. Sugar-coated after the game, she said straight up that Lexie Hull epitomizes what the Fever wants to be, resilient and fearless. That kind of praise doesn't get tossed around lightly. You earn it by grinding through pain, diving into defensive possessions, and refusing to let games slip away. Ask anyone in that locker room and they'll tell you. Hull sets the tone. And it isn't about one gutsy night, it's about consistency. Every game she shows up with the same edge. Yes, her shooting has leveled up, but the real heartbeat of her game is defense. Against Chicago, Indiana needed someone to throw the Sky's guards off rhythm, to mess with their flow, to make every trip up the floor uncomfortable. Hull did exactly that. She was in faces, contesting, absorbing hits to the body, and never backing off. Watch the film and it's obvious. Indiana's defense is tighter when she's out there. She bothers scorers, she talks on switches, and she never takes a play off.
Mentioned, whenever she sees you with the 2 black eyes, she smiles in a way because it just exemplifies your toughness. Do you feel tough in these kinds of situations with these 2 black eyes?
I mean, that's what people keep telling me. Every time she sees me, she smiles and then she says, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "You don't need to be sorry. This is what it is." And when I'm playing, I forget about it, and then I go and look at the mirror. I'm like, "Oh shit, he's still there." So yeah, I don't really think too much about it because I don't necessarily feel them all the time.
Yeah, and you're still able to see completely fine.
Yep.
Right.
Nothing's changed.
Lexie Hull didn't just play through pain, she turned it into a statement. 2 black eyes, a split lip, and still she logged heavy minutes, chasing rebounds, contesting shots, and refusing to sit down. After the win, when reporters asked about the bruises, she didn't talk about herself. She talked about the team. Every day we fight for our injured teammates. That's what we do. That's who we are. Simple words, but they carried the weight of the Fever's entire season. Indiana hasn't survived on star power alone. They've survived on grit, on role players stepping up, on toughness that doesn't blink. Hull became the living example, a battered face, a fearless heart, and a team identity carved out of resilience.
The resilient, nature of our team. I think one other thing that sometimes goes missed is just the character of these women, right? Especially this group that's been here that's gone through all of this, and then the ones that we brought in with O and Che and AP. I mean, these are women who care about winning. These are women who care about one another. These are women who sacrifice every single day.
What does it really mean when a team missing 5 key players can still take control of its playoff future? Indiana answered that question in Chicago. Coming in, the Fever were barely hanging on in 8th place, just a single game ahead of Los Angeles. One slip, and the season's work could have unraveled. But instead of folding, they delivered a blowout and then watched Atlanta take down the Sparks. Just like that, Indiana didn't just survive, they climbed. 7th place secured, 6th suddenly within reach if other results keep breaking their way. This wasn't about scraping by anymore. It was about sending a message. Even shorthanded, the Fever have the toughness and timing to shift from desperation to momentum.
By my rough count, the Fever have beaten the Sky by 12,000 points in their 5 games this season. I'm not perfectly sure on that number, but it seems correct, as they smack the Chicago Sky yet again. Basically, they've already been in a good playoff position, but cement a hold on a playoff spot.
The significance can't be overstated. Sweeping Chicago wasn't just pride, it was history. 5 straight wins. By an average of 24 points, the largest point differential ever between 2 franchises in a single season. That's not dominance, that's demolition. But more than a stat, it opened the door forward. With this win, Indiana locked in their 2nd straight postseason trip, a sentence that would have sounded impossible just 2 years ago. This was a franchise buried for nearly a decade, now back-to-back playoff bound without even having Caitlin Clark on the floor. And the timing? Perfect. Seattle is stumbling. Golden State's schedule is brutal. Indiana doesn't need help, but they'll gladly take it. In playoff races this tight, every break matters.
Kelsey Mitchell, brilliant once again. Lexie Hull playing through a busted lip after she's played through black eyes, which came from the knot on her forehead, which, is sort of exemplifies the Fever season, the way they fought through things. You got all players on crutches and carts before the game. Caitlin Clark, unfortunately, ruled out for the season. It makes you think what could have been, but what is a smacking for the Sky whenever they face them, and a playoff spot almost assured for the Indiana.
And credit where it's due, Stephanie White saw this coming. Since July, her message to the Fever has been blunt and unshakable. Every game is a playoff game. That mindset hardened the roster. Nobody was scoreboard watching, nobody was waiting for someone else to carry the load. They showed up every night with postseason urgency, and now, in the final week, it's paying off. This playoff berth isn't just about sneaking into the bracket. It's proof Indiana is no longer a one-player operation. They've built toughness, balance, and trust. They've forged an identity that doesn't collapse without Caitlin Clark, and that's the real victory. Now picture what happens when Clark returns healthy. Suddenly, this stretch of survival and resilience becomes the prologue to something much bigger.
Get the brooms out! Get the brooms out! I got my dustpan handy. We sweeping up the Chicago Sky. They are toast. They are done. We gonna hold on to our broom for this entire blog. Listen, the Indiana Fever just absolutely smoked the Chicago Sky. What a win. What a win.
Indiana didn't just clinch playoff control with their 97-77 win. They redefined what this team is about. This wasn't one star dragging the roster. It was toughness, depth, and a group flat out refusing to fold despite missing 5 key contributors. Sweeping Chicago 5 times this season by an average margin of 24 points wasn't luck. That's dominance. That's a statement of identity, resilience, and execution, no matter who's available. And let's be honest, it probably stung Chicago even more knowing Angel Reese wasn't on the floor, suspended after picking up her 8th technical foul. For Indiana, it's bigger than a box score. If they can dominate while taped together, what happens when Caitlin Clark returns to a foundation already hardened to win? That's the scary part for the rest of the league. Comment fired up for the Fever if you're riding this wave. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn. on notifications so you don't miss the next one.